What's up guys, Coaster Frills here. Last video, I went over the coaster most likely to get removed at half of the Six Flags park, and today, we'll be diving into part 2. If you haven't already watched the first video, I would recommend watching that first, but today, we will be going over all the former Cedar Fair parks. So with that said, let's begin. California's Great America is a park that will almost certainly be closing in the next 10 years, unless something insane happens. Since the park is closing sometime soon, it is very possible that the park will try to get rid of some of its rides before the closure to relocate them to other parks. This is what Cedar Fair did with Geauga Lake, and it makes a lot of sense to do the same here. I believe of these coasters to go, Railblazer is the most likely to get relocated, but for this list, I'm going with Psycho Mouse. This coaster is fairly new, being built in 2001, and is generally considered one of the best wild mouses out there. Due to this, I think it's a good candidate to be relocated to another park in the chain, and therefore get removed sooner than the others. Canada's Wonderland is one of the biggest parks in the entire world, and because of this, they are known for having a few mediocre to really bad coasters. One of these coasters was Time Warp, and that was recently removed. This leaves many great candidates to be removed, like Mighty Canadian Mindbuster or the dark ride coaster Wonder Mountain's Guardian, that has been opened without a ton of their effects. However, for this list, I will be going with Flight Deck. Flight Deck has a very similar reputation to Time Warp as being one of the absolute worst in the park, and has a plot right next to it. This ride could be removed in favor of a great new coaster in this combined plot, and I feel like very few would miss it. Carowinds is one of Six Flags' favorite new parks, with it seeing some of the biggest investments of all former Cedar Fair parks throughout the last 15 years. With Carowinds regularly getting new investments, older rides have been getting removed to be replaced with modern, great new coasters. Nighthawk has already seen its removal, and I think Vortex seems like a great choice to follow it up. This B&M stand-up is one of B&M's earliest, and apparently one of their worst, which makes me believe that Vortex is a great option to be removed. It's not that popular, and the park could use the plot to get some great new investments. Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio is one of, if not the greatest theme park in the Six Flags chain. Home to many record-breaking coasters, the park is always looking to add the next best attraction. These next record-breaking attractions usually come at the cost of smaller, lower-quality coasters. Rides like Cedar Creek Mine Ride, Gemini, and Corkscrew are all very old and very vulnerable to closure. However, when talking about next to go at Cedar Point, I have to go with Rougarou. Not only is it one of the least popular coasters at the park, but it is also sitting in a huge plot right in the middle of the park. This is the most likely the least popular out of all extreme coasters at the point, and when speaking about rides like Gemini that still have a great fan base, Rougarou seems like a good choice to go. Dorney Park is one of the easier parks for me to pick a coaster from, as this ride was already planned to be removed, however was saved solely because of COVID. Possessed opened in 2000 at Geauga Lake before being relocated to Dorney Park when it closed. Dorney Park had a plan to build a shuttle wooden coaster where Possessed is, sometime around COVID. However, the pandemic saved it. Dorney instead got Iron Menace, which its layout worked around Possessed and leaving it in the park. With the park barely working around it, it doesn't seem like the park is too eager to preserve this coaster for much longer, and it seems like an easy choice for next to go here. King's Dominion just recently lost Anaconda, and it was very hard for me to pick a coaster to go from this park because of this. I ended up going for a type of coaster that recently has been dropping like flies, and that's the bobsled, Reptilian. This bobsled opened in 1988 and is a coaster that I feel many forget is even at the park. It looks really fun and out of control, but I can't ignore the fact that even though it's not an Intamin, bobsleds have been getting removed a lot recently. The fact that it was repainted and given a new theme a few years ago does make this choice a bit strange, but in a couple years down the line, I can see this coaster being removed. Kings Island is one of the biggest parks in the entire world, and because of this, the park likes to get some of the biggest and best attractions. Similar to Cedar Point, lower quality coasters here could seem like they're on the way out. One coaster many have repeated the park should get is some sort of entrance coaster, similar to Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. Many have speculated that doing this would unfortunately lead to Invertigo's removal, and I agree. This coaster just seems a little out of place at a park like this, and getting rid of it and remodeling the entrance does seem like a step in the right direction. Knott's Berry Farm is a park with absolutely no space to build into. so when talking about new coasters, it could easily mean a removal for an existing ride. There are two really good choices for me to choose for this list, that being Coaster Rider and Accelerator. Both have had issues over the years, but I unfortunately feel like Accelerator will be the next to go. The hydraulic launch has been going extinct very quick, and as a coaster with a ton of issues in an extremely landlocked park, I feel like a major thrill ride will easily be put into this spot soon. Coaster Rider could be very well next to go, however, it does seem to fit the boardwalk area of the park very well, so I think it will barely outlive Accelerator. Michigan's Adventure in Muskegon, Michigan is most likely the most neglected of the former Cedar Fair parks. With little investment over the last few years, it's hard to see this park getting rid of any coasters or adding any coasters. One coaster that I feel like does have a big chance of leaving soon though is the SLC. Thunderhawk is yet another relocated coaster of Geauga Lake, and I feel like it doesn't make the most sense to keep it around, especially compared to all the other coasters at the park. Valleyfair was easily the quickest choice for me to pick from as the next coaster to go. Excalibur has heavily been described as out of place and very far away from everything else at Valleyfair. The ride looks decent, but some say it's rough, and an aero coaster still being at a Six Flags like this just seems too good to be true. I don't think Excalibur has much time left, and I unfortunately think this will be the next to go at Valleyfair. Finally, Worlds of Fun will conclude us with the final coaster to go, and honestly, this park was very hard to choose from. Timberwolf seemed like a very easy option, but it was recently announced that it'll get some retrack work for this year. Nearly the rest of Worlds of Fun's lineup all seem to serve a purpose at the park, and all seem to very well be staying for much longer. There was one coaster I had to rule out though, and that's the Boomerang. With actual investments starting to come to this park, it seems like an outdated ride model like a Boomerang doesn't serve much of a purpose. Anyways, thank you guys all for watching this two-parter, and please subscribe and comment what you guys want to see next. Peace.